If you are a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's in the mid to late 2010s, you definitely remember these guys. These are the Five Nights at Freddy's plushies made by Funko. Funko was the master toy partner for Funko was the master toy partner for Five Nights at Freddy's for almost 10 years. And since they don't have the license anymore, I decided it'd be fun to go through the entirety of the Funko Five Nights at Freddy's plush line and see if these were actually as good as all of us remember.
Like and subscribe, please. Thank you.
If you don't know who Funko is, they made Funko Pops. That's all you need to know. And they began making Five Nights at Freddy's merchandise in 2016, which is where our story begins. Now, it's kind of an important thing to mention, at least I think it is. Funko was not the first company to make Five Nights at Freddy's plushies. That was actually Sanshi. Sanshi tried to make their plushies look pretty accurate to their in-game versions, and it looked nice. It was kind of a bit expensive, but you know, it looked nice. So Funko went in with the mindset of making cheap, affordable Five Nights at Freddy's plushies that anyone could get. And so between the years of 2016 and 2024, we got about 1 to 2 waves of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies. So let's start at wave 1. Wave 1 consisted of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Funtime Foxy, Golden Freddy, which was a Walmart exclusive, Toy Freddy, which was a GameStop exclusive, and Shadow Freddy, who was a Hot Topic exclusive. Now, as a kid, I used to have the Jumbo Foxy, which I will not talk about the Jumbo plushies until later on in the video because I want to separate kind of what we got. But as a kid, I used to have the Jumbo Foxy, and I don't have it anymore because years ago, like I'm talking 6-7 years ago, 6-7? I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Years ago, I had a big, huge, ooh, Five Nights at Freddy's is cringe, gross. Anyone who likes it is stupid. Ugh. Anyway, let's talk about the Five Nights at Freddy's. That wasn't even funny. Taking a look at Freddy Fazbear, I'm gonna be honest, he is not my favorite plush in the world. He's not bad by any means. I'm just not a huge fan of him. I'm very nostalgic towards him, but that's really about it. I think the fabric they used for him is nice, and he's stuffed pretty well. He's got a big ass head. I do like that they gave him a plastic nose, and his eyes puff out a little bit. I just appreciate they gave him a plastic nose. But my only real issue with this plush is that the hat's a little bit wonky, as well as I think his proportions are just a little bit off. I think his head's a bit too big for his body, if that makes sense. Like, look at him. I don't know, it could just be me. But as a whole, he's not a terrible plush, and he's a pretty good base for all the future plushes in this line. I feel like a good way to express my thoughts on each wave of the Funko Five Nights at Freddy's plushies is to do a tier list. I'm gonna do a tier list of each wave. Wave 1 I think is a pretty solid start to the Five Nights at Freddy's plush line. All of them I think are pretty good. Like I said, these designs aren't my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's plush designs in the world, but as a whole, I don't have any real issues with any of them in this wave. So I'm gonna put wave 1 in S tier. I think it's a pretty solid start. It's the foundation. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's a pretty good base for all future Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, so if some are better than the others, you get S tier. Now, the first wave of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, specifically the Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy plushies, are probably the most iconic plushies that come from the Funko plush line. Everyone is nostalgic over these plushies, either, you know, as a kid growing up with them or watching YouTube plush series about them. Just as a whole, these are the most iconic ones. But the second wave has also a very iconic Five Nights at Freddy's plush. The second wave consisted of Toy Bonnie, which was a Hot Topic exclusive, Toy Chica, Cupcake Mangle, which was a Walmart exclusive, The Puppet, Springtrap, Phantom Foxy, which was a Target exclusive, Nightmare Freddy, Nightmare Bonnie, which was a Toys R Us exclusive, Nightmare Foxy, and Nightmare Cupcake. So as you can kind of tell, each wave focuses on either 1 or 2 games. Wave 2 focuses on 3 games, but you kind of get what they're trying to do here. Out of this whole list, probably the most iconic one is Toy Chica, and it's because of that one YouTube video. I don't think wave 2 is awful, but I feel like it's not as good as wave 1. And this wave is the start of a couple issues I have with this plush line. I think the best out of this wave is Toy Chica and the Puppet, while everything else is either mid to kind of bad. But the Nightmare animatronics look terrible. I do not like the way the Nightmare animatronics look, and also I don't like Mangle. I don't like the way Mangle looks. And Phantom Foxy, what are we doing here? I personally feel like this should have been the start of them deviating away from the formula that they established with wave 1. Mangle shouldn't look like Funtime Foxy but with a black eye and really sharp teeth. Make a unique plush. Same thing with the Nightmare animatronics, which they did do later on in the Jumbo series, but like I said, I'll talk about the Jumbo series later. I'm gonna put it in a solid C tier. I don't think it's a horrible second wave, but I don't think it's the best. Wave 3 is the sister location wave. Now, this is the one where they actually decided to deviate from the formula they've been focusing on. A common issue I have with the Funko Five Nights at Freddy's toy lines, like in general, is that they followed a specific formula and did not want to move away from that formula. Like for the plushies, they very rarely moved away from this design choice. And same thing with the action figures. They didn't really move away from the action figure formula, which was not the best in the first place. And just as the years gone by, they just progressively got worse and worse, which is why I'm so glad that Jazzwares has the license now, because they're actually making good products. Anyway, Wave 3 consisted of Circus Baby, Ballora, Funtime Freddy, why does he look like that? Funtime Foxy, Ennard, again, there's two different variants of Ennard, one with a white eye and one with a black eye, Lolbit, Bonnet, which was a Walmart exclusive, and Exotic Butters, which was a Hot Topic exclusive. Wave 3, I think, is pretty solid. I like how this wave starts to deviate away from the formula that they established in the last two waves. My favorite one out of this wave is probably either Bonnet or Exotic Butters, or Lolbit. I just like Lolbit. However, there's still some questionable plushies in this wave. For example, Funtime Freddy. What did they do to Funtime Freddy? As well as Ennard, and to be fair, realistically, how are you going to turn this design into a plush? You really can't. So locking into the tier list, I'm going to put it at a solid B tier. The next wave is where we start to notice another massive issue with this plush line and the Funko toy line in general, the Blacklight series. This wave contained blue Blacklight Freddy, pink Blacklight Freddy, green Blacklight Foxy, purple Blacklight Foxy, blue Blacklight Foxy, and green Blacklight Cupcake. Wave 4 is another wave that starts showing the many issues I have with the Five Nights at Freddy's plush series by Funko. This fucking sucks. This is a stinker. If they were gonna do a Blacklight series, why couldn't you have just done a Blacklight plush of each of the main characters? Instead, we got 2 Freddys and 3 Foxies. We don't need 2 Freddy Blacklight plushies and 3 Foxy Blacklight plushies. They don't look good. Is that a hot take? I don't like them. These are going in the trash. This is the first wave that's going to be in the trash. I genuinely hate this wave. Another character that was introduced in Wave 3 that was released like kind of separately, so it's kind of considered a separate thing, like in between Wave 3 and 4. We got Balloon Boy, which was a Hot Topic website exclusive. Not my favorite, but doesn't look horrible. Wave 4 was based off of the Twisted ones. This is the first wave that is based off of the books. Wave 4 consisted of Twisted Freddy, Twisted Bonnie, Twisted Chica, Twisted Foxy, Twisted Wolf, Theodore, and Stanley. Who the fuck's Stanley? I should probably make it very clear right now. I have not read the books. I own them. They are in my possession. I just have not taken the time to read the original Silver Eyes trilogy. This wave is definitely one of the most unique waves to come from the Funko Five Nights at Freddy's plush line because, like I said, they're based off of the books. My little hot take here is I don't really like the way they look. I feel like the only plush that actually looks good in this wave is Theodore. I don't know who Theodore is because I haven't read the books. I feel like this was another example of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies that should have deviated away from the previously established formula. I'm gonna say C tier, but it's not trash. Like, there's genuinely like a couple. There's like, fuck, I'm putting it in trash. There's like only one plush I actually like. The rest of them I don't like. Compared to C, where there's like 2 I like. The next wave is focused on Pizzeria Simulator. This wave consisted of Helpy, Rockstar Freddy, Rockstar Foxy, Lefty, El Chip, Pig Patch, Orville, Mr. Hippo, which was a Walmart exclusive, Happy Frog, which was a Walmart exclusive, Candy Cadet, which was a Hot Topic exclusive, and Spring Bonnie, which was a Hot Topic exclusive. I personally feel like Wave 5 is the best wave we've gotten so far. All of them look great. I like the way all of them look. The only one that I think looks a little bit weird is Candy Cadet, but also how can you make Candy Cadet into a plush? You really can't. My favorite of this wave is definitely Spring Bonnie. I love the way Spring Bonnie looks. Really good wave. Honestly, this is the first S tier wave. The next wave is probably one of the worst waves we've ever gotten from the Funko Five Nights at Freddy's plush line, because this one is based off of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. I was locked into Five Nights at Freddy's again at this point, and so I was hyped to see these plushies out in the wild, and I just never got them until years later, and oh boy, they're not good. I should just show, Let's go. This wave consisted of Glamrock Freddy, Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Gator, Roxanne Wolf, and Vanny. These do not look good at all. What were they thinking? Where do I begin with this wave? I actually own Glamrock Freddy, and I wish I didn't. This is Glamrock Freddy, right? Now, it's an important thing to establish that in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, we actually got to see what the Glamrock animatronic plushies look like in universe. And guess what? They don't like this. Where do I begin? He sucks. I think he's trash. I think he's awful. Only real positive I can say is that the fabric they gave him is nice and he's stuffed pretty well, but it's just not accurate at all to what he looks like in the game. Being completely honest here, he's not a terrible plush. I just don't like him because he's not accurate at all to the in-game plush we see in the game. Like, even good stuff, they didn't try to recreate the plush in the game. They tried to do their own original thing, and guess what? It looks so much better. Like, compare the two. Which one would you rather buy? It's gonna be this one. This plush is unironically so bad that I have him hiding behind the Roxanne Wolf body pillow. I would rather have people see the Roxanne Wolf body pillow than this plush. Yeah, anyway. Third wave to go into trash. Let's move on. Now, in between the security breach wave and the next wave, we did get a in-between wave that just consisted of 2 plushies, which was Phantom Balloon Boy and the Security Puppet. Both of these plushies were Hot Topic exclusives. Phantom Balloon Boy? Really? Couldn't you have done like Phantom Freddy or Phantom Chica instead of Phantom Balloon Boy? Like, what? The security puppet does look pretty good. I like the way the security puppet looks. The next wave is based off of special delivery and contains Freddy Frostbear. I love that, which was a Walmart exclusive. Chocolate Bonnie, which was a Walmart exclusive. I also love the way this looks. Blue Spring Colorway Freddy. What the fuck did I just say? What sentence did I just read? Blue Spring Colorway Freddy. That's the real, okay, that's the real name. Pink Spring Colorway Freddy. Green Spring Colorway Foxy. Purple Spring Colorway Foxy. And then Blue Spring Colorway Foxy. And then Green Spring Colorway Cupcake. This is another wave that I'm not a huge fan of. I do like Freddy Frostbear and Chocolate Bonnie. Those are my favorite of the wave. But everyone else, I absolutely hate. Why do we have 2 recolors of Freddy and 3 recolors of Foxy? Again, why? This wave is going to C tier. There are 2 plushies I like in this wave. The next wave they did pretty good, which is based off of the Curse of Dreadbear DLC. This wave consisted of Dreadbear, Captain Foxy, which was a Walmart exclusive, Grim Foxy, Jacko Bonnie, and Jacko Chica. Now finally Funko locked in and created a solid wave of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies. I love the way Dreadbear looks, and I love the way Captain Foxy looks. Captain Foxy is honestly probably one of my all-time favorite Funko Five Nights at Freddy's plushies. I love the way he looks. I think he looks great. However, I am not a fan of Grim Foxy, Jacko Bonnie, or Jacko Chica, but I don't think they look horrible. I feel like they would work perfectly in like a Halloween display. It's just, personally, I don't like them. So overall, I'm gonna put it in a solid, I'm gonna put it in A tier, since my mood really depends for these 3 plushies. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't, so I'm gonna put them in A tier. The next wave is based off of Security Breach again. Yippee! Are they actually gonna remake the plushies and make them look accurate to the game? Fuck no, it's a Blacklight series, which consisted of Glamrock Freddy, which is literally just a re-release of this guy. We got Blacklight Glamrock Freddy, Blacklight Glamrock Chica, Blacklight Montgomery Gator, and Blacklight Roxanne Wolf. All these Blacklight plushies were exclusive to Hot Topic. Another Blacklight series I fucking hate. So first off, they re-released Glamrock Freddy, right? If you're gonna do a second wave of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach plushies, couldn't you at least try to remake them? I only can name a handful of plushies that they actually went back and remade, and they actually made it better, and coincidentally they're all jumbo plushies. But yeah, these suck. I don't like them. Another trash wave. Wave 8 is yet another special delivery wave of plushies. This wave is pretty big and consists of VR Toy Freddy, System Error Toy Bonnie, High Score Toy Chica, Radioactive Foxy. We got Inverted Toy Freddy, which was a Hot Topic exclusive, Inverted Solar Error Toy Bonnie, which was a Hot Topic exclusive, and Inverted High Score Toy Chica, which was also a Hot Topic exclusive. And then we got Inverted Radioactive Foxy, which was a Hot Topic exclusive. What are we doing here? Why do we have all these inverted? We got Livewire Toy Freddy, which was a Walmart exclusive, Shamrock Freddy. Man, I wish I played this game. We got Chocolate Freddy, which was a Funko exclusive. This is actually the first plush so far that was exclusive to the Funko website, which I think is interesting. And then we got Liberty Chica, which was a Walmart exclusive. Now, honestly, I kind of am mixed on this wave. I love Chocolate Freddy, my favorite of the wave, and Liberty Chica I just think is so wacky that you can't really hate on it. And I think the VR toy animatronic plushies don't look horrible. Shamrock Freddy, it's Shamrock Freddy. I just don't like the inverted versions. So we're gonna drop this in like, I'm gonna drop this in a B tier. So I'm gonna have this in B tier, and I'm gonna move sister location to A tier, because there's only like one that I think was bad. The other one's kind of like, well, how can you really make this into a plush? And they did the best they could. Okay, so I'm locking in as this list. So at this point, Funko is starting to run out of steam here. They're running out of ideas what to turn into Five Nights at Freddy's plushies. I mean, what they could do is they could go back and remake the previous plushies, make them a bit more accurate to the game. They could totally do that. Instead, we got a tie-dye wave. We got a tie-dye Freddy, tie-dye Bonnie, tie-dye Chica, tie-dye Foxy, tie-dye Funtime Foxy, tie-dye Springtrap, and then lastly, Frostbite Balloon Boy, which was a Walmart exclusive. I do not like the tie-dye wave. I'm not a huge fan of it. Do I think it's horrible? No. The only one I actually think is horrible is Tie-Dye Springtrap, but locking in, I'm gonna put it at a solid B tier. I don't think the plushies are bad. I just am not a personal fan of them. Now, at this point, we're reaching towards the tail end of the plush line. Wave 9 is based off of the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative. If you aren't aware, the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative is an initiative made by Scott Cawthon, in which it was a way for Scott Cawthon to officially fund Five Nights at Freddy's fan games. The biggest examples, which coincidentally is what this plush wave has, is Five Nights at Candy's and Pop Goes. I actually have a Fazbear Fanverse Hex plush up here. Actually, can you see that? No, you can't. I have a Skibbity Toilet there. I forgot. Hex was one of the companies that made Fazbear Fanverse Initiative plushies with Candy the Cat and Pop Goes. I might make a video about the Hex Five Nights at Freddy's plushies one day, because this Candy the Cat plush is like really cool. He could do that, which I think is awesome. This wave consisted of all GameStop exclusive plushies, by the way. I should mention that. Consisted of Candy the Cat, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Blake the Badger. This is another S tier wave. I love this wave. First off, it's based off of the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative, which the fact that these even exist, I think is really cool. And I have considered buying the Candy the Cat Funko plush for a while now. I'm extremely nostalgic towards Candy the Cat and Five Nights at Candy's. Another S tier wave. So far, there's only been 2, in my opinion, S tier waves. Wave 10 is probably the strangest wave we've gotten yet, because a good chunk of them is based off of characters that do not exist. This wave consists of, and when I tell you these characters, these are real plushies that exist. It's Balloon Freddy, Balloon Chica, which was a Walmart exclusive, Balloon Foxy, Circus Freddy, Circus Bonnie, and Circus Foxy. These characters do not exist anywhere in the Five Nights at Freddy's canon. They also released Firework Freddy, which was a Walmart exclusive, Black Heart Bonnie, which was also a Walmart exclusive, Sun, Moon, and Sun and Mood, which was a Hot Topic exclusive. Wave 10 is odd. First off, where did these circus characters come from? They never came from Five Nights at Freddy's. Either these are Funko OCs, or this is from a canceled Five Nights at Freddy's project. Do I think they look horrible? No, I just am confused on their existence. However, I absolutely hate Black Heart Bonnie. I hate the way Black Heart Bonnie looks. Only one of this wave I think is horrible. Firework Freddy I think is so goofy that you just can't hate on him. And the Sun and Moon plushies, fantastic. I love how they deviated away from the formula that's been established. They need to do this more often. Just as a whole, I think this is a solid wave. It's just, I'm confused on their existence. So if we go into the tier list, I think I'm gonna put this in B tier. Actually, no, I'm gonna put this A tier. The next wave, which is the second to last wave of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, is based off of Christmas. We got Santa Freddy, Elf Bonnie, Snow Chica, Gingerbread Foxy, and Nutcracker Foxy, which was a Walmart exclusive. Now, this wave may not be everyone's personal cup of what am I trying to say here? Hold on. This wave may not be everyone's personal cup of tea, but I love this wave. I actually own Santa Freddy. I don't have him on me right now because I actually have him packed away with my Christmas stuff. Like, I have him as a Christmas decoration. That's how much I love him. I think he's great. I think all these plushes are fantastic. So honestly, you guys may hate me, S tier. And now the final wave of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies is based off of Security Breach Ruin. So you would think they would go out big here. Nope. It's Ruin Sun and Ruin Moon for the final wave of the 5-inch or 6-inch. Actually, hold on. How big is this? 6-inch? For the final wave of regular Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, these aren't horrible. I actually like them. I think they're pretty solid. I just wish there was more that come from this wave. Like, imagine like this wave being like entirely themed to Ruin. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's more they could have done than just like Ruin Sun and Ruin Moon. They're the same plush, just with different colors, which I think is just kind of lazy. Like, instead of doing just a regular Ruin Sun and Ruin Moon, they could have done like a regular size Eclipse plush and then had like the other plush be like Ruin Roxy or like the Mimic. They could have done something more of this final wave. They kind of ended it on a bit of a stinker, so I'm gonna put it in like B tier. I don't think these are horrible plushies. This is the final lockdown for this series of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies by Funko. Now, as you can see, it's kind of a mixed bag. We got 3 S tier waves, 4 A tier waves, 3 B tier waves, 2 C tier waves, and 4 trash tier waves. So I would say mixed bag of a series. So locked in. For Jumbo Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, which are just like the regular characters but bigger, we got Freddy, Foxy, and Funtime Foxy. Now, the Jumbo Foxy is actually the plush I had when I was a kid. We're gonna review the Jumbo plushies same way we reviewed the regular plushies, and that is we're doing a tier list. Wave 1 I actually really like, and this may be a little bit crazy, but I actually like the proportions on the Jumbo plushies way more than the regular plushies. So if we look at the tier list, it's the same tier list as before, and it's going into S tier. Wave 2 consists of Nightmare Freddy, Nightmare Bonnie, and Nightmare Foxy. Wave 2 is just the giant nightmare animatronic plushies. I don't like the regular versions. I don't like these ones. So it's going straight into trash. And then we got a whole blacklight wave of them. We got blue Blacklight Freddy, purple Blacklight Foxy, and then green Blacklight Freddy, which was an FYE exclusive, as well as blue Blacklight Cupcake, which was an FYE exclusive as well, and also a Jumbo Helpy, which was a Hot Topic exclusive. I don't like the Blacklight plushies. You already know that. Why do we have two Blacklight Freddys and one Foxy? Like, really, what are we doing here? The only real plush I like from this wave is Helpy, which is why this wave will not be in trash. Instead, it's going to be in C tier. Wave 3, we got Rockstar Freddy, Lefty, and Vanny. All of these guys are GameStop/EB Games exclusives. I personally actually kind of like this wave, even though it has the Jumbo Vanny. I don't like the regular Vanny, so it's gonna go in B tier. I'm not a fan of the Jumbo Vanny, however, I like the other two, so it saves from this one. We also got blue Spring Colorway Freddy, purple Spring Colorway Foxy. I don't get why these exist. Trash. Straight trash. They suck. As well as a colorway Vanny. Trash. Again, I probably should have added this to the other wave. Next wave was Tie-Dye Freddy, Tie-Dye Foxy, and Radioactive Foxy. Freddy and Foxy were a Hot Topic exclusive. I don't like the Tie-Dye plushies. I already established I don't like them, but I don't think they're horrible. That's why this one's gonna go into C tier. I don't think they're horrible. I just don't personally like them. Wave 4, which I think these are interesting. We got Nightmare Freddy and Nightmare Bonnie, which were Hot Topic exclusive. This is what they should have done with the regular Nightmare animatronic plushies, because it's something different. It's not just these plushies, but with like sharp teeth and all these razor sharp edges, right? And it sucks. It looks stupid. This actually works for the Nightmare animatronics. I mean, they still look cute and adorable, but they don't look fucking ugly, which is why this is another S tier wave. The next wave consisted of Sun and Moon. These are just giant Sun and Moon plushies, and I like the way the Sun and Moon plushies look in the regular size wave. So this one is yet again going into S tier because these also look great. I like them. And in wave 5 is a giant Mr. Cupcake. I absolutely love this plush. So guess what? S tier. Guess who's never doing that again? Me. I'm not doing that again. The next wave is Toy Bonnie and Circus Baby, which are both GameStop exclusives. This is another wave I absolutely love. I love how they deviate away from the regular formula that they established, and they did something unique. I like the way Toy Bonnie looks, and I like the way Baby looks. I think these are fantastic plushies. So guess what? Another S tier wave. Look at all these S tier waves, man. They're cooking way harder with the Jumbo plushies than they are with the regular plushies. Next wave is Golden Freddy. It's Golden Freddy. What can I really say about it? So going to tier list, I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's just because I don't like it as much as these up here. And the last wave of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies were Glitch Trap and Vanny, which were both GameStop exclusives. Funko ended the Jumbo series with a bang. These look great. I personally am not a huge fan of the way Vanny looks, but it's just because I'm not a huge fan of like the Vanny design in the game. Maybe a bit of a hot take. Don't get me wrong, Vanny's a bad bitch, but I'm just not a big fan of her design. But Glitch Trap is a fantastic plush. I think it looks fantastic. The Vanny plush like objectively looks good, so guess what? A tier. Kind of crazy. The Jumbo series, they released 3 separate Vanny plushies, and only the final wave, when Funko lost the license, they actually decided to cook and make a good Vanny plush. How does that happen? And then lastly, I just want to quickly shout out these little guys here. Their whole gimmick is that you could flip them, you know, flip them. The Five Nights at Freddy's wiki, which I actually use as like a main source for like all the plushies, they didn't mention these plushies at all, which I think is interesting. Why didn't they do that? So a little shout out for these guys. I also want to shout out the animatronic plushes Funko made. These plushies were motion activated, in which they would light up and do a little jump scare thing. It's pretty cool. We only got Freddy and Foxy, and I wish this became a whole line, but it didn't. We just got these two, and they were exclusive to GameStop. But after the release of Ruined Sun and Moon, as well as the Jumbo, Vanny, and Glitch Trap plushies, that concluded the Five Nights at Freddy's plush line by Funko, since they lost the license to Jazzwares. And now, since the line is completed, I could give my overall thoughts on this plush line as a whole. It's a mixed bag. It's definitely not the best Five Nights at Freddy's plush line we ever gotten. I actually do think Sanchi's probably the best, followed maybe by Hex or U2's. Those 3 are interchangeable to me as like the best Five Nights at Freddy's plush lines. Funko's definitely in the middle. They were nice, affordable Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, but I just feel like they're like a huge mixed bag in terms of quality and a huge mixed bag in terms of actual designs for the characters. It wasn't until the tail end of their plush line where they decided to start changing things up really. There's a lot of Blacklight and Tie-Dye, which I just wasn't a huge fan of. Just as a whole, mixed bag plush line for me, and I fucking hate this guy. But now a new challenger has entered the Five Nights at Freddy's plush universe, I guess. I don't really know what I was trying to get at there. With Jazzwares, where they have released their first wave of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, in which the first wave consisted of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, the Puppet, Nightmarion, and a Jumbo Freddy plush, which is exclusive to Target. And I actually own Freddy, and I own Foxy. I feel like talking about the Jazzwares Five Nights at Freddy's plushies would work better as a different video that I might make down the road. I feel like it would make sense to end this video by comparing the plush by Funko and the plush by Jazzwares, since these are both in the same price bracket. So comparing the Jazzwares and the Funko, it is so easy to say that the Jazzwares is the definitive Five Nights at Freddy's plush you could get at an affordable price point. He is just fantastic. I love him so much more than the Funko plush. The Funko plush, though I'm nostalgic towards it, isn't the greatest, while Jazzwares is 10 times better. I love the way he looks. I find the fabric Jazzware used to be 10 times better, as well as I liked how much they stuffed the Jazzwares plushies compared to the Funko ones. As well as I need to mention the fact that his eyes glow in the dark. Can you see it? His eyes glow. Can you actually see that? Hold on. Yeah, you can. His eyes glow. Look at that. My room is like way too lit up, so it's kind of difficult to see, but it's lit up. I think my only real issue with the Jazzwares Freddy Fazbear plush is the material they use for part of the hat. I just think isn't the best. It just flips up way too easily. I have to like physically like push it down to make it look decent. Funko doesn't have that issue. They use a different type of material that makes his hat stay down a bit more, as well as I like the plastic nose compared to Jazzwares, which does not have the plastic nose, as well as I like the fact that Funko's eyes like pop out compared to Jazzwares. But as a whole, Jazzwares is genuinely the more fun plush. I think he's more adorable than Funko, and I paid around $15 for this plush, while the Funko plush line went for around $12. I feel like he's definitely worth that few dollar price raise compared to Funko, because he's just genuinely the better plush. I feel like we are in safe hands because these guys are adorable, and I feel like everyone could love him. He's a cute little guy. I don't see how anyone could hate him.
You see, the issue is just how he looks. I can't quite find words or actions that express just what I want to happen to him, but I believe that anything is better than him existing. Like, hypothetically, I think if he were choked, that would be really nice. I think if he were stabbed, maybe hit with a rock, maybe my dog could kill him and eat him. Or better yet, he could get hit by a car. Or even better yet, by a fucking plane. Because anything is better than having to look at his stupid, dumb little